college. I went to the University of Portland, go Pilots.
I was going to ask you, do you remember what the yearly or even semesterly tuition was at the U of P
totally.
back then, 30 years ago?
I don't remember.
Because I do remember 20 years ago, I graduated from Temple in Philadelphia, which was a public university there in the state of Pennsylvania. Graduated in '96, so 23 years ago, and it was $5,200 for the year. That covered 2 semesters. And even at the time, I knew that was a steal of a deal. And from what I've heard, they haven't raised their rates that much. I think it still costs like $11,000 a year to go there, which is obviously a lot more manageable than some of the tuition prices you hear about. So at the time, yeah, same thing. I wouldn't have gone to, and I couldn't afford to go to a university that would have put me into serious debt. That was a manageable number. I got a couple of grants,
loans, scholarships, some work study, and my parents. Like 5 sources it took to get all that, you know, to graduate.
And a lot of you guys are just tuning in to us. Hello, Twitter and YouTube viewers. We're talking about the Bernie Sanders plan to tax Wall Street transactions and trades and bonds to pay off all U.S. student loan debt, which is over $1 trillion. He unveiled his proposal yesterday. Senator Elizabeth Warren has her own proposal that would cap it at $50,000 and up. So if you have a student loan debt below $50,000, I think you're still kind of on your own. But also that benefits, a lot of people are arguing, well, you're only benefiting the people upper middle class to, you know, wealthy people who are going to be, you know, training to be surgeons or lawyers who are going to be able to pay that off.
But, you know, I think sometimes the middle class gets stuck, because I know I've had friends who say, we don't qualify for any, you know, federal assistance, but we can't pay it out of pocket. We don't have the money, so we don't have it on either end. And then
that's almost truly middle class.
It really is.
Yeah, you're stuck in the middle.
I do think something's got to change with college tuition. I don't know why we're not examining
you had
what
a good
schools
idea
are
what
paying.
Charging.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, I'm sorry, but like when you hear about what coaches are making and what kinds of, I don't know, I'm not putting it on sports, but I'm just saying, like, schools are charging exorbitant rates to students. Why not look more at what the colleges are charging if they're public schools? I mean, private schools do whatever, but
let's go to the source.
Why aren't we streamlining the cost of education more when it comes to public schools?
You said Ashley had an idea.
That's what it was. She was, oops.
I mean, it's not really an idea, it's just the thought.
But yeah, it is. I mean, it's like, why not go to the source and figure out?
Thought.
Ashley added a light bulb.
Yeah.
Why are we charging so much?
Absolutely. Rod just joining the discussion, and we're we've been on Instagram for minutes. We've only been on Twitter for seconds. But tackling this Bernie Sanders idea, and according to what I saw online this morning, this proposal, they're saying, would cost $2.2 trillion over 10 years. It would cost $2.2 trillion over 10 years to pay off these existing student loan debt. And the plan to tax Wall Street speculation, putting small levies on buying and selling stocks and bonds and things of that nature, that would bring in $2.4 trillion in revenues over 10 years. So they have this thing penciled out pretty nicely. It's going to cost us 2.2, but we can generate $2.4 trillion.
I don't know anything about Wall Street speculation other than people that know something about it make more than I do. But one of the questions is that somehow going to trickle down to Tom and Jerry and Marilyn and Judy, the consumer, right?
Oh, they're not going to be paying for it. They're going to pass that on.
So if it does get passed along, then it doesn't sound as great as it otherwise does.
Yeah, that money's just not going to float out there in outer space.
Right.
Yeah. Let's show some comments. We've gotten over 600 comments on this on Facebook. Let's see if I can. Here we go. Oh, is the touch screen right? Okay, here we go. So this is our Facebook page with the post. Over 600 comments. 118 of you have been sharing this today. So Colin has the top comment saying the hundreds of dollars saved each month by not paying your student debt could be spent on homes, cars, other goods, services, more likely to create a market than tax breaks for the wealthy who just hoard the money. Rhonda says, my children have worked hard to pay off their loans. One is still paying them off. I praise them for being adults and taking care of their obligations. Are they to get ignored? Are we raising a society where doing your part is not needed? Steve, let me scroll up so it's a little easier to see. What about the other 260 million of us that made other decisions to a career? Do you just give me $30,000 to make it fair? Or is this debt relief only for the ones that made bad financial decisions and ran up college debt? Some people likening it to like a credit card. You know, you charge up a credit card, you know what you're buying, you know what the percentage, interest rate is. That's on you, like if you decide to go to out-of-state college,
yes,
or community college versus somewhere very expensive, like you know what you're getting into when you sign up for these loans.
I wish I could remember the federal program, because there are some, if you get money from the government, the kid has to fill out, for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to say a worksheet. So they figure out what is your salary going to be when you graduate that you hope, and what is it going to take to pay back this loan, and is that a good return on your investment, because oftentimes it's not.
And that was around, it's just in the last couple of years, or we're talking 20, 30
no,
years?
No, like within the last, I would say, like 5.
That's a fantastic idea.
That's great.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm just jumping in here, so sorry if I'm kind of new to this, but I certainly understand the argument. But we've spent, growing up a lot of time sitting there listening to, you have to go to college. Right. You have to go to college. So that's all anybody does. Forget about what it costs. That's not even a mention, right? So.
And does it? I mean, I don't like if you're getting the same education. I don't know. I'm sure, quality is different. Harvard is going to be a different thing on your resume than U of O. But at the end of the day, like, am I really,
are you going to make more
stressing myself out to learn much more, and get a better job?
Getting that first job, though, I think, college. And if it comes down to someone that went to, XYZ college or went to Harvard, use your example, the boss is probably going to go, even Steven, we're going to take the Harvard kid, right? Yeah. I mean, to me, that's where really it's that first job.
Yeah, I remember it used to frustrate me. The woman I was dating in college, she went to a different university. She went to the University of Pennsylvania, Ivy League school, and she was...
what was her tuition at the time, by the way?
It was expensive. She was an education major. She wanted to become a high school teacher, and I'm thinking to myself, great job, right?
Yeah.
The most underpaid people, I feel like, in our neighborhoods are the teachers. But geez, you're paying how much money to go to school?
For
and you're not going to make that much money coming out, right?
And you have to have a master's degree to get your
university with me, and gotten that education to become a teacher.
I just Googled my alma mater, Penn State University, room, board, books, tuition, about $36,000 a year for in-state.
For in-state?
Wow. That's public in-state.
It's a public university.
Yeah. Wow.
Now,
that doesn't sound too far off.
No, Ashley, I did hear your comment about sports, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing that those are completely separate budgets for athletic coaches, or are they coming out of what the university makes on tuitions?
It's crazy.
If they're not separate finances, then...
Well, it's just funny, just to piggyback off that point, it's not exactly the same thing, but this federal funding, the Bernie Sanders stuff that we're talking about, it cannot go to administrator salaries, any merit-based financial aid, or non-academic buildings, and it specifically says no shiny new football stadiums. So,
yeah.
That's kind of my
I would like to see
colleges.
the graphic, because I'm assuming when I got out of University of Missouri in 1985, it wasn't until my senior year the in-state tuition, not room and board, but just tuition to pay for classes, hit $1,000 for the first time a semester. And you could take as many classes as you wanted. But my point is, I'm going to assume that back then in the 80s, our tax dollars, our government was putting more funds into these universities. Isn't it true that through time, the government has pulled back a lot of that funding, and that in some part goes with the correlating line of college tuition becoming increasingly expensive?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then why did that change?
Yeah. Rob on Instagram saying if this Bernie Sanders plan passes, what happens if the stock market crashes hard? I mean...
Well, that never happens.
That never happens. Okay, keep weighing in on that. Our second topic of the day, everyone kind of has an opinion on. We're talking about Michael Jackson. Today is the 10-year anniversary of his death. And we're asking, can you separate the man from the music?
I cannot.
No, you cannot.
I cannot.
What does that mean, though? Does that mean you will not listen to a Michael Jackson song? If it comes on the radio, you'll turn the channel?
Is it Leaving Neverland? Is that the big...
Yes, the HBO documentary.
I got through the first 2 hours and was so...
it's horrible
appalled and disgusted, and I was like, I couldn't even make it through the whole thing, and it completely changed my opinion. I mean, I was back in the day, I remember when the Jackson 5 debuted on Ed Sullivan. I mean, I was a huge fan. Everybody loved Michael Jackson. And as things came out over the years, I know his estate says, no, this isn't true, but my God, those men sounded credible to me. I mean, it's just brutal. Brutal.
Well, it's how many years that we've heard it. You knew, you know, I mean,
the speculation.
many years while he was alive, like there's something up with this guy.
Well, nothing sounds right about that.
No.
Even when he did all those interviews, he's a 45-year-old man letting
saying
a
it's okay.
young boy sleep in his bed. They're just like,
That's not your own son? Yeah, there's...
It just does
I remember he did that 60 Minutes interview years ago. I mean, that was probably 20 years ago, and I think it was Ed
Martin
Bradley
Bashir?
asking him a question, asking Michael Jackson, like, could you sleep in a bed with a 10-year-old boy? And he's like, yes.
Yeah, I don't see
And we
anything
kind of
wrong
let that kind of turn a blind eye to that for so many
you
years.
can't separate the man.
Well, I want to know what
music.
that means, though. Does that mean you're going to turn the radio
So if you hear a
station
music-
if you
a
hear a
song
Michael
on?
Jackson
No,
song?
it's just
come
means
on?
she
It
can't
means that
not
I'm not
think of it.
buying any more, you know, music or that. I mean, I'm not like
You're not gonna-
crazy about it, but
So
I
would you
can't
turn it
separate
off if you heard it? Does it just go automatically make you
mean-
think of the documentary?
Yeah, I don't know
We're
if
down
I
the
would
spot
turn it off if I was in, you know, whatever. I don't
In
know.
the car or something?
Yeah, I mean but I would never spend a dime on any of that to support that.
I'll tell you,
do you guys
sometimes
think?
you'll separate people from what they do. You know, we say, great doctor, weird dude, right? Like you can separate the profession from, but in that case, I can't, I don't even want to any longer say, weird guy, great artist. Like I don't want to give him great for anything, right? It's like take away all, I mean the music may still sound good in your ear. The man made some good music, but I am not going to say, you know what, hey, got to give him credit, he was a great artist. No, I'm not giving him credit any longer really for anything.
I know, it's just
Where
awful.
did
It just
that-
made me feel sick.
Where did that end up legally? Did it end up a bunch of...
He was acquitted.
Acquitted.
Yeah, he was.
He was acquitted. And there,
05 trial.
there was a known or a factual trail of checks being sent to certain families. Did that come out? I can't
Checks?
remember if that
No,
was actually
not checks.
Oh,
a
you mean
paper trail.
payments to pay off the family.
Hush money.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't
All right.
No, that wasn't part
We
of
don't
it.
have that data in front of us for the Sunrise Extra
Yeah.
program,
Let me
Rodney.
read you some comments that have come in on Facebook from people about this. Carrie says, fabulous music maker, but deeply flawed human being. Marty says she can separate them. Yes, I love his music. Amy says, after watching the HBO special about him, I can't listen to his music. Anytime a song of his comes on, I have to skip it. Let's see. D. Clark says, no, I cannot separate the two anymore. Linda saying, so many people can separate this man from his music, but will not do it for others in the same situation. Why is this? So weigh in, tell me what you guys think. Oh, somebody on, where was it? Here on Twitter was saying this happened to them the other day in the car. We don't separate OJ and his accomplishments on the football field or Cosby from his TV shows and comedy. I think some people do that with Bill Cosby for sure.
Sure.
OJ, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
I wouldn't.
Broovies with Matt says Michael Jackson is dead. He doesn't benefit from anyone listening to his music. Music is art, appreciated, not the person who created it. And Oregon history, oh, this is our friend, Doug, who I did a story with. That Billie Jean song came on the other day. I knew I needed to turn it off, but it took me a minute. And then Chris asks, why did you need to turn it off?
Interesting.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
Comments.
I really do think it comes down to that documentary from last year, Finding Neverland. That was, to me, an eye-opener, a game-changer. Call it what you want. But if you've seen that, if you've watched, even like you did the 2 hours, I saw all 4, your mind has changed
you're
when it comes to that individual.
But I can separate.
Really?
I'm going to go out on the limb and say, yes, I can. I love his music.
Can we do early Michael Jackson when he was like 10?
Off the Wall album.
When he created that album, he wasn't
Kind of
creating
before a lot
Misery
of
for
this
Others.
stuff, wasn't it?
Well, was that? That was kind of the
Kind of
Macaulay
before it really
Culkin,
became
wasn't it?
out.
You know what? And the other day when Rod and I were out at the Tigard Festival of Balloons, they were doing this fun thing where they were playing music that all of the songs had to do with flying or up in the air or whatever. So they had like Frank Sinatra, and they also played an R. Kelly song.
That's another one that is
That is different for me because R. Kelly, not in that particular song, but in most R. Kelly songs, he's rapping about sexual stuff and women and whatever, and that's what he's been accused of.
But
for
with
Michael
minors.
Jackson,
With minors.
right? Yes, and that's why I'm like, ugh, the R. Kelly thing is like, I don't really want to listen to this because it like makes you think about it.
Chris
and Michael
Brown
Jackson, Chris Brown
beat
is
the heck out
another
of
one.
Rihanna.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, it's
But because Michael Jackson wasn't singing necessarily about sexual things, you can kind of listen to his music still and not be
It
reminded
doesn't
of
like
his
trigger
wrongdoings.
it immediately for me. It just is like, wow, it's such a good
I think
song.
you have a kind-hearted brain.
Wow.
I don't know.
I
What do
feel
you
the
think,
need-
Rod? You're always chiming in on stuff like
I
this.
feel the need for Lawrence Welk. Do we have an old record that we
And
can
the
queue up?
one, and the
Two,
two,
and
and
the
the
three.
three.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah.
My Aunt Millie and Uncle Bart used to listen to or watch Lawrence Welk. I was like, oh gosh, should we have to be at their house on Sunday?
Saturday.
That's
Saturday,
funny.
6
Is that what it was?
Bobby and
in the
Sister.
Central
I think
Time
this
Zone.
conversation
Yeah,
is
Bobby and
interesting.
Sister.
I grew up in a household we were not to listen to Michael Jackson.
Oh, really?
Because my uncle investigated him.
What?
And
Oh,
led,
yeah, that's right.
led the investigation.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Tell me the
Well,
story.
It's law enforcement.
he led the whole he was one of the lead detectives
In
on the
California?
case. And so I have so many thoughts I can't even talk about all this stuff. But
I'm fascinated by you. So he was like with the LA County.
He's with Santa Barbara
Detective
County, so
Santa
where
Barbara.
Neverland Ranch is. So
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
day Michael Jackson died, I was just telling Brenda this story over the weekend. I was at Neverland Ranch on this day 10 years
What?
ago.
You've been to Neverland Ranch?
So I interned with the sheriff's department, his sheriff's department, and a TV station.
This is your mom's brother?
Wow.
And so, longtime homicide detective, and he got all my family members to go watch the trial. I skipped it because I went to my senior prom, but
Like you,
Believe it,
they were in the
show.
courtroom.
they went to the courtroom like the days Michael Jackson showed up in
What?
pajamas.
Right.
But when I interned at the sheriff's office, we were behind the gates of Neverland. When Matt Lauer flew in on the Today Show jet.
What were you doing there? Did you go on the rides? and
I
stuff?
was like
As a
shooting
jet?
video. I was a media intern for the sheriff's department. But there was so much stuff. Like,
Well,
it's
tell us
so
what-
disgusting.
Tell us what your uncle, what did he say? So we're not quoting you.
Oh, I can't
Tell
go
me,
into all that.
Can you do
No, I
mean,
can't.
any of his
No.
general
Something?
thoughts?
Well, they all, I mean, everybody.
This is Sunrise Extra. We want more.
Whispered in Drew's ear.
No, I can't like go into stuff because like when I interned there, I had to sign privacy and confidentiality stuff and go through a polygraph, and because I could see all this stuff that they had cataloged.
We'll protect you.
So I'm not going to talk about it.
No,
but
listen,
but
You
the
guys could not even
consensus.
listen to it
No,
in your
it would
house.
like it would really upset
him.
my family
And
members.
totally
like
understandable.
after the acquittal, these detectives spent. I mean. Months and years of their life investigating this, and it was so horrendous, some of the stuff that they have in evidence. And I don't know. I mean, think what you will about the man. I think he was sick.
What if we
So-
get everyone who's watching to agree not to repeat any story you share right now? No,
Please,
still no.
I'll continue. No, but I will say the Neverland experience was crazy. People quit their jobs. They flew from China, Japan, all over the world. And they were camped out for miles in the San Ynez Valley in
Just
like
to show
100-degree
support for him or
weather. Yeah.
something? Yeah.
I mean, it was like wild. I've never seen something quite like fandom to that extent.
Right.
It was
he was
wild.
a god back in
I
the
mean,
day.
yeah.
I mean, that,
He was. I mean, we don't even have pop stars or celebrities that big
Kind
now.
of right there in the Elvis sphere. Pretty close to it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
as
pretty
big
close to the
as it
Elvis.
gets.
Bigger than-
I felt like he was there in 1985. Certainly, by the time that all happened in 2005, to me, he was way out of that sphere. But for some, he never left it, I guess, is the bottom
Yeah.
line, right?
No, people were still like
huge.
diehard fans. I mean, didn't matter what they,
He's
they
the
just.
only big name musician that I've ever went to. I went to see him in St. Louis, his Off the Wall album tour.
Wow.
And to me, that was before a lot of the stuff started to come out. I think I'm correct on that.
Simpler times. 1980, 81-ish.
I mean, the man was amazing, musician-wise and performance-wise. I mean, I can still remember that.
I never
performance
saw
like it
them
was
after they
yesterday.
got like,
Crazy.
but I remember that was my very first concert.
Jackson
Yeah.
5?
Memorial Coliseum. I was
Oh,
in
wow.
5th grade.
Wow.
Herman and Muriel Braxton drove me up to Portland.
And then Muriel
Mom
Braxton.
and Dad. All right, you guys, that's all the
man.
time we have
Bye,
for today.
guys.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow at
Bye.
7 a.m. for Sunrise Extra.